Hello everybody, welcome back to Road to Master. I hope you're all having an amazing day. We're starting off with the black pieces against an 1814 from Italy. We have a d4 here. Let's go ahead with d5 and we'll go for an Albin counter gambit. I don't think we've had one of these in a while. I've been sort of testing it out in bullet a bit. They go with the wrong move actually. The correct move is d takes e5. I believe we can just take with the queen here and we're just happy. We could potentially take this pawn. Bishop checks, probably the better idea. I think we're probably going to be winning this pawn regardless. This is where I probably should know my theory. We'll throw in the check anyway, I think. There's no, like, f4, yeah, is a move you can do to hold on to the pawn. But is it a good move? I'm not sure. So after bishop takes, I think we take the... Not bishop takes. After bishop d2, I think we... Ooh. Do we take the bishop? Knight takes pawn. Then just play normal chess. Yes. We're making a threat on that at least, so we can get some development out of it. They go for that. Ooh. Can we just not take this b-pawn now? I think we can. There's no, like, repercussions, I don't think. We can always play c6 if they've thrown the checks. We could throw in bishop d7's probably better. I think we're just up a pawn here. I think we are just up a pawn. Hopefully we are. They kicks out, I'll happily take the other pawn as well. It's slightly riskier to take that, but realistically, I don't think they have any threats. With the amount of development they have, or the lack thereof, I should say, we are probably fine. I think knight f6 here is the correct thing to do, just to castle and get ourselves out of any sort of danger they're going to throw at us. Especially forks. I do not like forks. I would like to avoid them if possible. I think rook c1 here is probably the move. c6, knight c4 is possible, but then I'd throw in the check on b4, so I think we're fine on that front. Also, we could just take the pawn as well. So they're looking to castle, I believe. Also potentially looking at... Still, we take the a pawn though. Like they're all tied down pretty nicely. Knight c6. I would want to castle first, I think, to avoid any pins. And this is a good position. You know, this is fine. The problem is we don't have any clear targets. That's what I think is the problem. I think bishop e6 is actually a viable move to go after this a-pawn straight away. But then a move like knight c4, actually we throw in the check as well, and then we bring the bishop back. So I think we could just actually do that. But then a rook b1, we would be losing the b-pawn, which I don't like. I don't want to isolate these. Yeah, maybe we just move the queen to safety while we can. Knight d7. Knight d7's not really doing much. How can we make some attacks? How can we drum some play, you know? Get creative. C6 is probably a viable move, right? Let's castle. Let's just castle. I think we're good. This is the problem. Like, you can sometimes give up pawns in the opening like this and play for a draw still. I think queen a3 is actually potentially okay, but then knight c4. We no longer have the check, so we have to be a bit careful. Maybe a knight d7 then. Maybe a knight d7. Potentially go to b6. Stopping any knight, so we can get the queen over here. Worst case, we drop the queen all the way back to b6, and then we put it on like d6 or something. Seems okay. But yeah, this is going to be... We are up material, but this is going to be a very slow and tedious game, I think. They've gone queen e2. The only reason I can see for that is to go rook fb1, bring this other rook, so this rook can stay defending the a pawn. That's the only real reason I can think they would want to do that. So I think just a knight b6 could work here. Again, stopping any knight coming in, defending the b pawn as well. So I'm relatively happy here. We can potentially still go after this pawn. And we've got two options. I think a5 or d6 are the choices. I'm going to go with d6, just so it's a bit more out the way. But this is why I wanted the knight on b6, I think. It's just stopping any play this way. Allowing us to play c6 if they do like a rook c1. This rook's comfortable. They're not really hitting this a pawn anyway. And I think we're happy. I think we're pretty happy. Bishop e6 is good. I think just good. Yeah, hitting the rook, hitting the pawn as well. C6 is coming. If they go rook b5, they go rook there. We'll play c6 anyway. And I think we've sorted out a lot of our problems here, so I'm pretty happy. Okay, you can do that, I guess. Maybe just a bishop d7. Just sit tight. I don't want to give up my bishop that easily, really. Then again, I would like the rooks on the d file, so maybe we just go rook d8, rook fd8. I'd like this rook to stay over here if possible, so I'm going to move the f rook rather than anything else. And yeah, I think I'm happy with that. We potentially go after the bishop as well, especially if pawn takes. Actually, no, not all if pawn takes, because the rook is still there. So we've got rid of more of our pieces, and the more pieces we trade off, I think the better for us. The more our one pawn advantage becomes a serious issue for them. There is also the very real possibility that this could go into a draw, and I would happily trade off more pieces, I think, especially their bishop, and sit this knight on d5 where it's very, very nice. They have to deal with this rook, and maybe we start this dark square sort of pawn chain here. Ooh, I was going to say you've fallen into a trap of knight f4, but then rook takes. It's still fine. It's still fine. We could do it. I don't think I'm going to do it. I just want to be really careful. There's no hidden traps, you know. So maybe even a knight b6 could work here. Threatening the knight and trading off the rook. But after queen takes, there's no rook d8 because we've got no defenders here, which is a bit of an issue. What's the play here? What's the play here? I'm worried as well about queen d2. So maybe rook f4 is the way to go. Knight f4, sorry. I always get confused between knights and rooks. Am I worried about knight e5? Not really. I mean, worst case, we can defend this pawn and then kick it out somehow. I don't think there's any hidden traps with knight f4 we need to be careful of. I don't think there is any problem. The whole idea is the pin. The pawn's pinned to the queen. So we'll go for that. And we'll let them trade off a set of rooks. Which could potentially be not the best for us. Oh, one more thing. If the queen moves, this knight as well is undefended, which is cool. So it depends where the queen goes. It would have to go to f1, actually. I guess c2 is also an idea. Yeah, c2 works. Those are the only 2 squares, though. There or there. If there... I don't know. Probably just back, right? So you go there. I don't think there's anything special we can do here. So we'll just stick the knight back on d5. I've got to be careful of some potential pins on this rook, which would be annoying. So maybe we just drop back as soon as we can. Yeah, they go for that straight away, which is annoying. So probably like a queen e7 here. Oh, I'm scared. Oh, I'm scared. This ain't good. It's gonna have to be a rook d7. Unfortunately, it's gonna have to be a rook d7 so we can get the knight to b6. And then both the knight and the queen will be covering the rook. I think that's the only move, unfortunately. It's not a nice move to make, just because our back rank's so weak. But unfortunately, I think it is the only move. We can go either way. We could even throw in... we can't because knight takes. That's annoying. We could throw in like a knight b4, I guess. Works as well. I don't know what that's doing there, though. It's just fancy for the sake of fancy, really. But yeah, we're very low on time as well. So we'll pre-move a bit. Try to trade everything off. Get this into a king and pawn endgame. You go with that. We'll just take the knight. We'll just take the knight. It's funny if we... oh, don't pre-move that. Jeez. Ooh. That would have been not good. That would have not been good. Queen versus queen, pawn up is probably drawn, realistically. Unless one of us makes a mistake. And in this time, pressure is most likely going to be me, which is great. We'll make some room for our king. And we need to get this king active somehow, however we do that. There is not good. Takes. Queen takes. Check. There. Takes. There. Seems to work for us. We've got the 2 passes. Now we could have a perpetual here, is an option. Just bail out with the perpetual. I think they would take it. King g8 is probably the best move there. They have checks still. There they have even worse checks. I don't want to lose much more material. There they have that, which I don't like at all. So it's probably g8. King g8, and then they go for the perpetual. I'll take it. We lose 1 point of rating. You know, I'm fine with that. And I think that's quite mature, I think, is the word, to get a draw from that. We definitely made some mistakes, especially around the pin. We walked into that a bit.
A nice even game.
Oh,
Let's
whoa.
take a look and review together.
I didn't realise chess.com does voices like that. I will mute that straight away. So it's 80.7% versus 82.6%. And this bar, like I said, we're up a pawn. It's still very playable for white, especially towards the end. There was a chance where we made a big winning position, minus 3.8. We'll have a look at that. Anyway, 80.7% for us, 82.6% for them. So they actually had a higher accuracy. 2200 versus 2100. We'll have a gander at this review. So pretty standard stuff. Is not the move. Is not bad. Again, like, it's not bad at all. Apparently, we just take the queen. Best thing. Rather than take the pawn. Again, not a huge difference. We got the extra pawn. Again, like, we're up a pawn. it's minus 0.2, so it's drawing still. Yeah, it wants us to bail out with a3. We just kept developing. Got the knight to b6, which is okay. Blah blah blah. Apparently this is actually, I want to say significant, not crazy amounts. It's minus 0.9 here. Apparently wanted us to go to e7 rather than d6, which is a tiny difference, but like I guess it's not the worst. Like it's gone from 0.9 to 0.5. So again, it's practically nothing. This is apparently a mistake. This is minus 1.0. We played the safe c6 rather than the rook d8, which is fine. We went with the wrong rook here, so this is actually a pretty big mistake. Here, this is minus 1.6. I don't know why it's minus 1.6. I really don't. But apparently it is. Okay, so you can't take this knight because we take this. Okay, that makes sense. I don't get why they can't take this, though. Oh, because I take and hit the queen. That's probably why. Yeah. Okay. Cool. So, best idea. There we go. Follow up, yeah. So the rook goes back. We go there. And then we just take the bishop. Again, it seems very, like, even. You know, like, there's no... It's just, like, the same position, but apparently it's better. I'm not particularly sure why. We do blah, blah, blah. Apparently this is a huge mistake. Oh, because you get... Wow. Wow, you take the knight. That's beautiful. Yeah. Haha, I like that a lot. You take the knight. You can take this, but then we take your queen, and we're up a piece. They take, and then we're up a piece. 2 pieces, almost. Yeah. A piece in exchange. Which is crazy. Wow. I probably should have... Oh, sorry. I probably should have seen this realistically. Yeah. I don't know what I was thinking, to be honest. Probably just wanted the light square bishop off. Again, probably could have slowed down here. But it is... I think it's an easy one to miss, to be fair. I think it's an easy one to miss. I still think I should have got it. But a draw, again, I'm happy with a draw. We did this nice little tactic here. By the way, this was the point where it's minus 3.8. So this is straight up a piece at least. We kept going, blah, blah, blah. And then that's a bit of an inaccuracy. Rook d7's best move. And then this is where it drops back to even, really? I guess because you're taking the knights off the board. It wants us to go knight f4, which I don't see at all. I do not see at all. Okay, so what if they take? What if they take? Knight e3. I don't get what your threat of knight f4 is. I really don't. Just a nice square. What if they kick you out, though? I guess they would have to do this, then kick you out. Knight d3. Okay, so you've just got an advanced knight, I guess. I'm not particularly sure. But this seemed like a equally safe thing to do. They made more mistakes, blah, blah, blah. We trade off the rooks. And then grabbing the pawn's actually the mistake, which is interesting. So c5, and that just stops the perpetual, I guess, is the move. But I get, once we take the pawn, you know, again, although we have these, like the perpetual, and that's always the problem with queen versus queen endgames, is the perpetual check, because the queens are terrible at defending against other queens for some reason, which is wild. Actually, no. I think that's probably the wrong thing to say. I think the queens are so equally matched, I guess, that they're both constantly defending and attacking at the same time, so neither player wants to overcommit against a queen. Otherwise, you make weaknesses that the other queen can easily attack. You get me? Yeah, I think that makes sense. And then the perpetual. I mean, it's just the only thing you can do. Apparently, you can play f6 here, which is wild. It's still got to be perpetual at least, right? There, surely. So let's say we go queen a6, which was our idea. Apparently, in inaccuracy, queen f7 is best. Really? Oh, so you defend the checks that way. And I guess this is still playable. But maybe you try push these pawns and break open this king so you can get other chances of perpetual. Yeah. That actually seems okay-ish. The problem is, if you ever try move this queen, you're opening up the possibilities of perpetuals again. So you've got to, like, these pawns are maximum going to get this far up the board. And then, like, you're going to have to move your queen in order to defend them again. So, yeah, I don't know. It's probably still drawn. We're on the upper pawn. Upper pawn's very easy to draw with queens. Let's have a quick look at opening theory. This c takes line. Again, not ideal, not the best one. We'll have a look at a win for black. This is Oleg Biekovsky versus Alexander Rep something. Queen takes, and apparently, yeah, take the queen. And this is very interesting, actually. This is a sort of game I think I would like. So I've got to remember to take with the queen next time, because you get to long castle with check. You get a weak pawn here, especially if the knight's here. There's no f4 to protect it. So you're going to target this pawn however you do. And potentially make some threats with knight b4 as well. So that looks very tasty, actually. I quite like that. Yeah, so we said this is a pretty typical maneuver for the Albin. This knight e7, knight g6. Very, very sort of typical idea. And the whole point is that this pawn's super weak, so you just pick it up, basically, and you get your pawn back. And that's about it. Anyway, a draw, I'd take it. I've said it several times. A draw's not a bad result. A draw's an absence of a bad result. You know, it's not a good result, it's not a bad result. It's just a good game. Or a bad game, depending if you had a winning position or not. I'm not sure. I'm just waffling at this point. Thank you all for watching. I hope you all enjoyed. Please like if you liked. Please subscribe if you really liked. And I'll catch you guys all tomorrow. Bye-bye.